Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Dave Hayes, and this is an overview of IR5551, Introduction to IR, and it applies to iterations after January 2021. A couple changes from previous iterations, so if you have information like an old syllabus or something, we've changed the textbook and we changed a few things around. So let's take a quick, this is not going to be too quick, but I'm going to try to go through, assuming everyone is new to the program here, I'm going to go through and try to explain what you can expect in the course. Okay, the course objectives, we're introducing you to international relations. We're also introducing you to a graduate program. You know, this course is designed to be the first for new students in our program, and it is going to go into scholarship, which is about, you know, we're going to talk about plagiarism and that sort of thing, but we're also going to talk about just the scientific method that is used in the program. It is a social science, and there's going to be a lot of emphasis on how we theoretically derive propositions about international relations and then seek to test them against the world, against the data in some way, whether it be with a large sample and statistical analysis, a quantitative analysis, or a more qualitative, like a case study. All of that is kind of aiming to provide a foundation for the capstone, because at the end of the program, you've got to write a 20-page-ish, 5,000 words research paper. So I'm trying to, at the very beginning, put students on a path that will, you know, allow them to successfully complete the program at the end. The textbooks here, and I'm going to have to minimize myself a bit, but we have Kelstat and Witten, which is actually a methods textbook, and that is the new thing this term. And this textbook is very useful in that, especially at the beginning, right? The beginning of this textbook is really where it's very useful because it explains the use of theory and how it fits. And so very, very on point for this. As you get into the textbook, it's going to go into more of the quantitative methods, statistical analysis. And I'm not going to really test you on it. You're going to have a course, IR5601 Research Methods in IR, that is going to, largely, go into, deep dive into this stuff. However, before you take that, you're going to need to be able to read papers that have this stuff in it and in some way assess the empirical support. So I'm trying to, have you go through this so as you get farther into the text, you can kind of scan the chapters, get a sense of what they're doing, and all of that will just make doing it in 6601 that much easier, but it will also prepare you in the interim to be able to, understand what these guys are talking about in a lot of the papers you're going to read in your courses. Also have the Dictator's Handbook. This is a very accessible, I think, follow-up to a larger book that these two, Bruce Buena de Mesquita and Alistair Smith, they also had a few co-authors, Randy Siverson and Jim Morrow, on their original work. But that had like 120 pages of math in that text, in that book. And so this is far more accessible, where they explain the implications. And it is meant to give you an idea of what we can do when we use formal theory and research methods in a systematic way. And I think it's very interesting. And so I offer that as an example. It is not the be all and end all. It is an example of what can be done when, and very often scholars get a research project and they pursue it. And so you're going to find that this is one example of the discipline, and this is written for an outside audience, and it's perfect, I think, for new students, because you're eventually you're going to be able to read the original stuff. And in fact, I have one of their papers in the class so you can see kind of how opaque the original is. Eventually you're going to get there, but right now it's a peek behind the curtain, if you will. Then we have the Baglioni text, and this maybe you may see different editions of it. I'm using an old one because I expect it's cheaper at some point. We're going to switch to the newer one. I think they're all about the same. It's about how to write a research paper. For this course, the section on literature reviews is very useful, and that's what we need it for. But this is also the recommended text for the capstone. So, and it's useful throughout the program. So it's kind of a handy to have handbook, if you will, onto how to do research. And so it's offered as, kind of supporting reading. And like I say, when you do the lit review, you really, it's got a chapter on how to do that's particularly useful. So, hi, I'm back. Okay, each week I have this module overview page, right? And we have modules, right? Canvas has this idea that you're going to have these modules, and you can go to the module tab in Canvas and see things, right? I think it's utterly inelegant. I just don't like it. So I have modules, but I have this page, module overview page, and you get to it. You scroll. I mean, there's a link in the module section for these pages, but also the easier way I think is you just when you sign into the course on the home page, you scroll down and there's a table with every week of the class, and you click on the week, whatever week you're in, and it has the dates so you know what week you're in, and you click on it, and you will get a page that tells you that what you should read, view, and do. Right? Read this stuff, textbooks. There's the textbooks, but there's also going to be the bulk of the IR stuff in this class is going to come from online journals, right? So there'll be a lot of online journal articles for you to read, and they'll be listed there. And you go to JSTOR, download them, boom, read them. There's view, right? What do you need to look at this week? And I have presentations like this. So, and sometimes I have, video that's online that's useful. And so these are the things that take the place of lectures largely, right? Then there's do, your assignments, right? And I think it's very straightforward. And you're going to have links there, right? Don't ask where you hand in stuff. You go to this page, there's a link. Boom, takes you to discussion and exercise. Boom, takes you to the quiz. Boom, takes you to where you turn in your whatever essay or lit review you're doing. Okay, so it's meant to be easily navigable. So just simply go there and kind of do what they say. We have a Sunday deadline. Now look, course starts on a Monday, ends on a Sunday. They're 9 weeks. It makes sense. Deadlines are on Sunday. However, this arbitrary, that might not work for you on any given week. So I do have a 1 to 2 day grace period, right? Except in the last week, because the last, end of the course, everything's due. But for the previous 8 weeks, for the first 8 weeks of the course, I've got a grace period. And so things are due Sunday, but that's just because it makes sense for most people, but you aren't necessarily most people. So if you need that extra time, you have a day or two, right? And I'm characteristically vague about it because I like to leave certain vagueness and ambiguities in there. I don't want you to let things go too late, but honestly, yeah, get it in by Wednesday, we're good, right? Except the last week. When the course ends, everything's due, period, full stop. I can't do anything about it, okay? Before that, I'm so flexible, I make Gumby look rigid, and it starts with a grace period. Now, if you need more time than that, you contact me, okay? And I almost never grade anything down for being late, to be quite honest with you. So that is something to keep in mind. So as we go through the course, though, if you find that there are, in the overview page, if there's something that's not lining up, because I make changes and I'm a professor, I'm not a clerically accurate kind of guy. Or, if you are watching a video and I refer to something that isn't an assignment, keep in mind, I have these videos, I keep using them, the course changes, I forget that I mentioned something in the video. Okay, so that sometimes happens, let me know about it. But if you're ever questioning, especially if there's something on the course overview page doesn't look right, remember, The syllabus is authoritative. What's written in the syllabus, that's the contract between you and me. So that's what you go with. But also, if there's anything that you have any question about, just email me and I'll get back to you and we'll solve it. And I'll probably tell everyone else, oh, hey, one of you pointed out this mistake and I'll fix it, because that's how I look for things, but I'm human and there's a lot of stuff on the website, right? It gets crazy. So the syllabus is authoritative about what you do each week. Course requirements. And just a quick overview, we have reading and lecture materials, right? The read and view part of each week. And so you're responsible for that. Yes, there's a lot of reading. There is a lot of reading out there. It's graduate school. And so it's about 5 chapters a week. Sometimes it's longer. There are parts, when it comes to that, the Dictator's Handbook, the BDM and Smith. By the way, Manuel de Mesquita is his full last name, and a lot of people just call him BDM. And so Bruce and Alistair, for people who know. Anyway, that book, like, there'll be a week where there'll just be like several chapters due, and my advice: start reading it as soon as you get it. And it is easy to read. But so there is a good amount of that. The lecture materials, I try not to bury you in too much. Sometimes I will say that there will be things that are optional to view, right? Because I know sitting and listening to me talk for 20 minutes is a bummer. Like right now, you're probably bummed out. But I try to keep it minimal, but it is graduate school. Okay. Then we have these other things we're going to go into greater depth. We have 5 quizzes throughout the course. There are discussion exercises to do. And then the major things are the week 4 essay, the literature review in week 7, and the week 9 essay. So let's talk about these things. Objective quizzes. We're going to hate these, okay? They're objective because they're like true, false, multiple choice, right? In that there's a right answer. But they're almost all trick questions. Not all of them, but yeah, a lot of them are trick questions. In the sense that these are things that students have gotten wrong. These are common mistakes I find students make. And so I ask a question, maybe it's true, false, or it's got a slant to it. And the idea is to catch the misunderstanding or the differing interpretations, or if you will, here in a quiz, not later on. The point, so they're not meant to be annoying, but these are things that students have trouble with. And so it's meant to be a learning experience as much as a testing, more than a testing experience, definitely. It's 1 point. Each quiz is 1 point. So, people get 50s on these things. Some people they just wipe out, right? Because their head wasn't where I wanted it to be, not where it needed to be, but where, and the quiz kind of alerts them to that. The point is, if you got 50 on every quiz, you lose 2.5 points on the final grade. Big whoop. Better to get that mistake there than in an essay where it's going to be a much bigger hit. There are more than 100 points possible on not all, but most of the quizzes. That is to say, there's extra credit. I don't have particular questions designated as extra credit, but the 120-point quiz, if you get 100 on it, guess what? You got 100 on it, right? In the end, it's going to be, so you could get 100, you can get more than 100 points. And in fact, there is extra credit in the first week. We have a plagiarism quiz about, things, and that's extra credit that's added into your quiz score. So, don't freak out over the quiz scores, is what I'm trying to say. Just keep in mind that the gradebook lies, right? I mean, the gradebook, it sees 120 points and you got 100, so that's like 80-something %, or I don't know, something like in that ballpark. No, you got 100, right? So the grade book is going to try to force it into its thing. Just kind of when it comes to quiz grades, understand the grade book is underestimating it, because it's also not adding in your extra credit. I do all of that at the end in Excel, all right? So, these things are applied later. So the objective quizzes, learning experience, they're not trick questions, but they're complicated questions. And do your best. If you get something wrong, there'll be feedback that comes up that explains. So don't rush out of there. When you hit submit, you will find out, and there's little statements in there. Okay, here's the point, right? What I'm trying to make with this. Uh, so read that, right? Keep in mind it's a learning exercise, and just don't freak out about the grade. It's not going to be a deal breaker. Okay, discussion exercises, 5 during the course. These are a bigger part of your grade. This is the easiest place for you to affect your grade in a positive manner. So let me explain. And I believe, I don't like to say percentages here because that's on the syllabus, but it's about 20% of your grade. So it's a significant part of your grade here. It is student discussion. This is for you to go and talk amongst yourselves. I am not going to get in and go wrong, and intervene in it. However, I do need to participate in some level. So what I do is I let you all talk, and then after you're done, I add in some video comments. Now, there may be a question in there where I think, oh, I should start off the discussion. So, I will either have video comments after you're all done or leading it off that you can watch. These are more optional, right? They're probably good to watch, but I'm not going to tell you stuff that you need to know for the essay later, right? But they are fleshing out the discussion, okay? So if you're pressed for time, you can leave them alone, but I try to, it'll be 10 minutes of me talking about things, right? They are graded on a 100-point scale. I used to grade them on a 5-point scale. Everyone hated it. I finally gave up and said, here, just do what people want. If you hear me referring in any videos at any time in the course of the 5-point scale, just ignore it. Understand we're on a 100-point. On that 100-point scale, and and I used to curve. I don't curve anymore. It's just the grade, it's simplified things. When you go in there, the assignment is generally, there's a discussion question, post an answer to it, and then comment on 2 other people's posts. That's the minimum. This is graduate school. Doing the minimum is passing. Gets you a B, right? 85 to 87, depending on how involved you are, right? And again, it's based on participation, not the substance of your comments. So you just have to participate. And if you want a higher grade, let me minimize myself again. Commenting on more students' posts gets a higher grade. So it's a participation grade. If you want a higher grade, right, let me look you in the eye. If you want a higher grade, then you need to comment on more people's posts. What am I looking for in a comment? I am looking for a thought. Doesn't have to be an overly long comment, paragraph or 2, good size paragraph, but I'm not giving much credit for, oh, great job, I really like what you did here, this was cool, right? No. I'm like, what I want is you to suggest something. Very good, like what you did here, but did you think about this? Or this reminds me, this, a thought, a substantive thought added to the conversation. That's what I want from you. Don't make it too long, right? Although, I mean, I do kind of in the grading, keep this, I'm weighing it, right? I'm subjectively looking at it, assessing, okay, how much was this? How much engagement was there here? But honestly, more posts, more comments on more. I value when you go in because it means you've read the other person's post. So I understand that, a longer comments on one person's posts are, not as good as shorter comments on 2 or 3 persons' posts because you've had to read all that stuff and you're spreading it around. So really, it has to be a substantive comment, it has to be a thought added to the conversation, but it doesn't have to be too long. I'm not going to give you exact formula. I give hundreds out when I have lost count, basically, of how many things you've done. So, if you get 100, that's me kind of telling you need to get a life. But doing 2 doesn't get you an A. Doing 3, 1 more, that's all I'm going to say on that subject. Let's move on. Essay exams. Week 4 and 9, bulk of the grading course. along with the lit review. But I mean, these are what I consider the graded assignments. Week 4 is a tough one. I just tell you right now, most of you are going to get B's. I try everything I can to help, but this is hard stuff, and I'm bringing you on board with it's a theoretical question. It's very conceptual, right? People have trouble with it. It's a learning experience, right? And so one change I did make, it used to be week 3 essay, it's now a week 4 essay, and so I am trying to give people more time to get on board with it. The week 9 essay people like. That's the essay you thought you were going to write in here. So the week 9 one, the final one, is usually the easy one, and grades are better, higher graded. So just work through it. Don't freak out too much. You're not going to fail, but you're not necessarily going to get an A. That would be my thing. There is Turnitin review. By the way, on the big assignments, these essays and the lit review, you turn it in through Canvas, but Canvas has a thing with Turnitin. It's a plagiarism checking program, and they take what you write and they bounce it off of a database of journal articles and other students' papers. Everyone who's ever done these assignments, you're being checked against them. So the last thing you want to do is get someone else. So do keep in mind that we are checking you, and it's also we're checking your classmates, and we're not giving out free things here, right? There will be similarities, right? There will be similarities. If you have an 8% similarity, that's beautiful. I'm not even going to check that, right? It's when you start getting over 15% similarities, it's like, well, we might have some scholarship problems here. At which point I will look at it and I will see what it's alerting on it. It produces a report that you guys can see too, right? I let you guys see it. You submit the thing, and then you have to wait a while to be able to see it because it has to go through the process. It queues up and goes through, but then you can see it too. But rest assured, I, a human being, not a computer, will make a judgment about, okay, what's going on here. So, don't think you're automatically going to get, screwed here. No, but then you'll get feedback from me. And this is the more important thing. When you do the essays and the lit review, I give voice feedback. And so there will be an audio file in there, and I will give you from 2.5 to 10 minutes, sometimes more. Sometimes it turns into a mini lecture. I will give you voice feedback. There won't be video, just be a voice file in the comments section. And there will also be kind of written generic comments about the assignment above it. Right? You scroll down and there's this little blue thing. It looks like a video with no video because that's exactly what it is. It's an audio file where I will tell you what I think of your essay and talk about its relationship. And this takes time. I do not rush it. Right? Like I say, I mean, I'm giving average of 5 minutes of comments to people, and it takes time to get there. 40 some odd people in the class. So I grade in the order that papers are turned in, and I do it within a week, right? That's my deadline, and I rarely miss. But and so the key thing, by the way, it's after you turn it in. You turn it in on Tuesday, I got till the following Tuesday to finish this thing. So keep that in mind. The grading criteria, these are simple. I'm not even going to minimize it. Answer the question and get the material right. And I do provide advice going into these things about what you should do. And so basically I'm looking at, did you understand the material? And then are you analyzing it? Basically, are you answering the question? It really comes down to whether you're answering the question logically, directly, and explicitly. So, finally, there's a lit review. The literature review is, you pick a topic, an IR topic of your choice. And that's part of the value of this assignment. It lets you take a deep dive on something you're interested in. Okay. And you're supposed to review the scholarly literature because that's what you came here for, right? Is to learn this stuff. And so what you do is you're going to say, here's my topic. And then you're going to go and look what is the scholarship on this? What is the state of the art of research in political science on this topic? The lit review, it is a bit annoying because when you write the lit review, you don't write about the topic, right? It's not a typical term paper. You write about what's the research on the topic. And this is very much a forest for the trees thing. You describe the overarching literature. Now, sure, you're going to describe, if you describe a forest, you're going to describe a tree or two, right? But it's about kind of taking this broad view. What's the lay of the land, the topography? I have a lot of sayings that go along with this. And so you're trying to lay out, all right, what is the state of the art on the research on this? What are the schools of thought? Are there debates? What types of questions have they asked? What answers have they gotten? What are the gaps in the literature? What are the gaps in this research? Because the point of a lit review is to suggest questions for future research. And here we get into preparing you for the program. This is the first step in any research project. You have a topic of interest. You need to do reading and research to figure out what the actual question is that you should be researching, right? And so it takes research to start doing research, and that is a lit review. And so you're going to do one of these. You don't actually have to write a paper. This is just the lit review part. But I'm trying to get you going on that. So it's about 6 to 8 pages, and you got to watch your Turnitin similarity because it's all about you describing other people's stuff. But we don't really have that many problems with that, so it's not a big deal. But it is, a part of your kind of foundation of when you do a capstone, when you do your capstone paper, you're gonna have to do a lit review. So it kills a couple birds here. So it's a useful assignment and hopefully interesting because you can start seeing, okay, what's out there on something you're interested in. Okay, so that's the program. And we're 27 minutes into this. I try to keep these things short, but it's hard. Problems. Don't want you to have big, chillax. Don't freak out. I try to be an anxiety reducing part of your life, although clearly we're introducing tensions and anxieties and deadlines, but relax. Anything comes up in your life, I understand. You have priorities that aren't school. Right? You are not undergraduates going to school where it's your job to go to school. You have a job. You have family. They are priority 1 and 2, and they fight for the top position. We're at best third. I understand that. So you don't have to apologize, right, about that. I'm going to work with you. However, don't get in too deep. Right? Keep in mind, I make Gumby look rigid. I'm going to give you rope, 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 rope. If you hang yourself in the end, well, not my problem. I don't want to, it is my problem to a certain extent, but that's the attitude here. I mean, to be honest with you, right? So very much understanding, don't need to apologize, but the caveat is I'm not going to be paternalistic, right? I'm not going to warn you that you're getting too far behind, right? I'm going to, assume you're an adult and you know what you're doing. So just the danger is you can get in deep. It happens. All work has to be in at the end of the term. That's the other thing is I'm like, Mr. Okay, no problem, no problem. At the end of the term, I'm like, problem, right? And so it does change. And so I'm trying to warn you about that. Though when you get to the end of the term, you can request it incomplete, which will give you 6 weeks to finish. So we've got things we can work with. Just keep in mind, you have to have done half the work in the course, right? You have to have finished stuff. Right. And so I need a couple, I need 50% of the grade done, right, in order to give you an incomplete. That's for some, if you get too far behind, that's the definition of too far behind, not, where you're not going to be qualified for an incomplete. You're not going to get half the work done. So just keep that in mind as we go through the program. But I'm going to work with you. Okay. It is my job and I do it. I don't think I do it poorly, honestly. So that is my big message. Communicate with me. You don't need to communicate if you're in the grace period. Please don't email me. Right? That's what the grace period's for. But when you start getting behind, keep me in the loop and don't let yourself get too far behind. Speaking of contacting, email works best, right? Please use email first. And when you use email, I get back pretty quickly. If I don't get back to you in 24 hours, I've something's wrong. I've messed up, right? I don't know why. You might, maybe you asked a too complex question and I backburnered it for, but if I don't get back to you in 24 hours, please email me again. Don't sit around, you know, if I haven't got back to you in 24 hours, I need to be reminded. I need to be kicked. Please, ping me. I will then, oh my God, I'm a terrible person and I'll be getting back to you. I'll be falling over myself to get back to you. But email works best. You can call me. Here's my phone number, right? Boom. That is my cell phone. I walk around with this thing, you know, probably listening to a book on, an Audible or something, but I keep it with me at all times. Reasonable times, I'm available. That reasonable to me is 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. All right, 11 hours of the day, Eastern time. If it's really pressing, yeah, you could call me later. But the key thing is you can get a hold of me if you need to. You can text me at this number. Although I gotta tell you, I miss texts. I make no promises, right, about text, in the sense that I for some reason, I just, discover them later. Go, oh, where'd this come from? But you can text if that does work. I mean, and you can make an appointment to call me. You don't need to, but if you want to make an appointment to call me, I love that. Thank you. Allows me to make sure I'm available. And when you make an appointment, if you want to make an appointment to talk, uh, please, you suggest the time. Do not, I have people who say, oh, I'd like to talk, when's good? And I'm like, I don't know, when's good for you? And we go back and forth. I'm like, just forget, call me. Let's get this over with. Let's fix it now, right? And, reduce your anxiety. I'm really big about, if you got a problem, let's fix it, move on, right? Uh, that's something to keep in mind. There is also an Ask Me Something forum in the discussion board, and you can use that, and that's publicly asking a question about the course. So, bottom line, email me, phone me, and you can contact me. I'm here. It's my job, to help you through this, and I like doing it. I don't mind it. I like solving problems for people, and so. And I want you to enjoy the course. There are a lot of times I'm going to make you do things that maybe are onerous or annoying or whatever. The lit review, I'm going to be like, oh, you got to do it this way. There's going to be some of that, but hopefully it's an interesting subject, and hopefully you're going to find some value in looking at this stuff and reading about it. And so I really do hope you enjoy the course.